A box cutter. He dropped it as the strength drained out of him. It's in the next door toilet, he said, pushing open the door to the adjacent cubicle. How did he get it through security? The metal would have set the alarm off. He didn't. Look, said Padua, pointing. See that piece of duct tape on the handle? Somebody went to a lot of trouble to hide the cutter in here, no doubt behind the cistern. All Medina had to do was peel it off. Amaia sighed. And there's more, said Padua with a look of distaste. This was sticking out of his pocket, he said, holding up a white envelope in his gloved hand. A suicide note? Ventured Amaia. Not exactly, said Padua, handing her a pair of gloves and the envelope. It's addressed to you. To me? Amaia frowned. She pulled on the gloves and took the envelope. May I? Go ahead. The adhesive strip opened easily without her needing to tear the paper. Inside was a card. In the middle of it, a single word was printed, Tarttalo. Amaia felt a sharp twinge in her belly and held her breath to disguise the pain. She turned the card over to make sure nothing was written on the back before returning it to Padua. What does it mean? I was hoping you'd tell me. Well, I've no idea, Lieutenant Padua, she replied, puzzled. It doesn't make much sense to me. A Tarttalo is a mythological creature, isn't it? Yes, as far as I know, it's a kind of cyclops. It exists in both Greco-Roman and Basque mythology. What are you getting at? You worked on the Baztan case. The Baztan was also a mythological creature, and now Johanna Marquez's confessed murderer, who tried to copy one of the Baztan crimes to conceal his own, kills himself and leaves a note that says Tarttalo. You must admit it's curious, to say the least. You're right, Amaia sighed. It's strange. However, at the time we proved beyond doubt that Jason Medina raped and murdered his stepdaughter, then made a clumsy attempt to pass it off as one of the Baztan crimes. Not only that, he made a full confession. Are you suggesting he wasn't the murderer? I don't doubt it for a minute, said Padua, glancing at the corpse. But there's the question of the severed arm, and the girl's bones turning up in the Arizahar cave. And now this. I was hoping you might... I've no idea what this means, or why he addressed it to me. Padua gave a sigh, his eyes fixed on her. Of course not, Inspector. Amaia headed for the rear exit, anxious not to bump into Johanna's mother. What could she say to the woman? That it was all over, or that her husband, like the rat he was, had escaped to the next world? She flashed her ID at the security guards. It came as a relief to be free at last of the atmosphere inside. The rain had stopped, and the bright yet hesitant sunlight, typical in Pamplona between showers, emerged through the clouds, making her eyes water as she rummaged in her bag for her dark glasses. As ever, when it was raining, finding a taxi to take her to the courthouse during the morning rush hour had been almost impossible. But now several of them sat idling at the rank, while the city's inhabitants chose to walk. She hesitated for a moment beside the first car. No, she wasn't quite ready to go home. The prospect of Clarice running around, bombarding her with questions, was decidedly unappealing. Since her in-laws had arrived a fortnight earlier, Amaia's idea of home had been seriously challenged. She gazed towards the enticing windows of the cafes across from the courthouse and at the other end of the Calle San Roque, where she could see the trees in Media Luna Park. Working out that it was roughly 1.5 kilometers to her house, she set off on foot. She could always hail a taxi if she felt tired. Leaving behind the roar of traffic as she entered the park gave her an instant sense of relief. The fresh scent of wet grass replaced the exhaust fumes, and Amaia instinctively slackened her pace as she crossed one of the stone paths that cut through the perfect greenness. She took deep breaths, exhaling with deliberate slowness. What